Alright, so what is up, guys? So next day here, and now we're just working on cleaning up this cylinder. I have some mean green in there. Should clean it up pretty good. Um, got the bottom end over here. All the gasket materials all dry. Bottom end feels pretty solid. No play at all. So yeah, let's get started cleaning up this cylinder. Alright, so now that we have the cylinder all prepped and cleaned, ready to be put on, we're going to go ahead and clean up these the rest of the top end pieces. These cylinder or these pistons are pretty beat up, but it'll be fine. They're not too bad. These bearings, they feel pretty good. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead and clean them up, and then we should be able to put the top end on. Alright, so I have all the pistons cleaned up, bearings, everything, wrist pins. So now what I'm going to do is clean up these surfaces, gasket surfaces, with some brake cleaner, and then put the pistons on the correct way. So as you can see, the pistons have a little arrow and an E, and that always points towards the exhaust side, so they should be facing this way, I believe. Yeah, so they should be facing that way. So we'll get that all cleaned up, and then we'll stick the pistons on and stick the cylinder on. Should be good to go. Alright, so we got both gasket surfaces cleaned up with some brake cleaner, and so now I'm gonna stick these pistons on. Not too hard. Circlips are a little pain in the butts, but it'll be pretty easy, I think. And then we'll stick the pistons on, then we'll stick that gasket on along with a thin bead of gasket maker just to help it sit a little bit better, and then we'll slide the cylinder on. So let's slap on those pistons. Alright, so as you can see, we just got this first piston on, and I still have to pop in the little circlip. On these circlips, you need to make sure that they are facing this way, because if you think about it, the piston's going up and down. So if it's facing this way, it has a higher chance to compress and then fall out and then ruin your motor. So when you put them in, just make sure they are facing up. Alright, so as you can see there, we have the circlip facing down. And you want it down on the bottom, and probably not on the top, so it can like rotate all the way. Yeah, circlip's in. The circlip looks like the like this one on the other side. Just make sure they're good, and make sure they're all the way in the groove. So you just press down like that. Just make sure that they're all the way seated in that little groove right there. You should be good. So now let's put the other one on. All right, so we just got the other piston in. Still have to put the circlip in. Just make sure also that you're oiling up everything, like the wristband bearings and the. Also, you want to make sure the crankshaft is oiled. Just so when you start it up, it's not running on just metal to metal. So yeah, let's go ahead and put that circlip in, face it the right direction, and we should be set. Alright, so we have both pistons on. They're all oiled up. Circlips are facing the right direction. So now we're gonna put some RTV on the gasket. Set the gasket on there. Compress the piston rings and slide the piston on. Then we should have a part of our top end on. So let's do it. Alright, so finally got this gasket laid down. There is a certain direction that it has to be placed down. I didn't know that, so it took me a couple tries. But now we're ready to slip that cylinder on. So yeah, we're ready to put it on. So got a little gassy material on the pistons, and it'll rub off when it starts. So let's go ahead and slide that cylinder on. Alright, so we finally got those rings compressed, and pistons are finally in. The cylinder's over them. So if I turn it, I don't want to go all the way because I just cleaned that head surface. So, but yeah, nothing hangs up. Sounds good. No real slop. So I think we should have a pretty strong motor. So now I'm gonna go get the head and all the nuts and stuff, clean them up, put that copper gasket on, put some RTV over it just like we did with the base gasket, and slap that head on. Alright, so we have this copper gasket cleaned up. We also have the head cleaned up. Also have the all the nuts cleaned up for the head and everything. So now I think we're ready just to apply some of this RTV gasket maker. Spread a thin layer both sides of this copper gasket. Put the head on, then tighten it down, let it dry a little bit, and then torque it down when it's about an hour. So let's get to it. Alright, so just got this gasket on with the RTV. Now we're just going to place the head on. Alright, so we just got all these nuts hand tightened, and now we just gotta wait about an hour. But there we go, we have a fully built JS 550 motor. So I'm probably, when all this gasket maker dries and stuff, I'm probably scrape that off, make it look really good. But yeah, so we have the basic. Sounds really good. Compression honestly feels pretty good when I just put my finger over it. But yeah, there we have it. So so now there's not much to do. Just put the exhaust manifold, starter, stator, carburetor manifold, etc. But you have the basic motor, and I think it should be a ripper.